We're back with another episode of All Hands on Tech. I'm your host, Claire Kirian, and today we're in the studio and we're joined by Daniel Roscoe, CEO of Roswall Development. Based in Halifax, Roswall Development has been at the forefront of the province's energy transformation and are now taking on exciting projects like Renewable Energy Inc. and the Mersey River Wind Farm. They've certainly been busy. We can't wait to learn more about everything that they're doing. So thank you so much for joining us today, Dan.
It's great to be here.
I have a lot of questions for you. This is a field that I'm not super familiar with, but very interested in, so I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, we're going to start with some icebreakers.
Sounds good.
Nice and easy breezy. Okay. What's one piece of technology that you wish existed but doesn't yet?
In some ways, I think we have all the technology we need, but I'll say thermal energy storage. A lot of focus on batteries and things like that for storing energy, but most of what we use energy for in Nova Scotia is heat. So thermal, storing heat, as perhaps unsexy as it is compared to its lithium-ion friends in the battery world, I think storage of heat is really important and something I want to see a whole lot more of in the future.
Very interesting. I mean, that's a great point, and I think it brings up. I think there's a lot of conversations around how to store a lot of these new technologies when you talk about AI and like the storage it takes to even support.
That's right.
Mass AI, so I think that's very topical. I like that answer. I don't really know what heat storage looks like. I picture just like boxes of.
It can be as simple as a hot water tank. Yeah,
okay, there you go.
That's the thing. It doesn't have to be complicated, but how we use those assets can be very helpful in balancing renewable energy.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Everyone who works for me knows that I'm very much a morning person. So I'm up early, try to get caught up for the day. But as I learned during all the recent baseball games, I don't have the stamina to stay up late.
That's fair. Spamming their inboxes before they're out of bed,
That's right. Get started early, yeah.
What's one hobby or interest of yours that might surprise people?
I don't know if it's surprise. I still like playing soccer,
Okay, nice.
And I'm a gardener. So I'm constantly trying to grow new things and plant seeds with the kids and things like that. So all the plants in the office and stuff are things that me and my kids have put together. So.
That's awesome. I feel like when you're a gardener, it leads naturally into like jarring and salsa. How many tomatoes can you eat fresh? So do you do a lot of that?
That's where the learning is. Yeah, and what to do with it all once you make it. I don't think I didn't get to everything this harvest season. So I got to plan better for next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe you just have one of those farm stands where you just like put it out.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay. So now we're getting into the meat of things.
All right.
Let's talk about some renewable energy. So the people at Roswall Development have been building renewable solar and wind projects at scale in Nova Scotia for almost 2 decades.
Yep.
For folks who might not be familiar with their work, what is exactly the mission of Roswall? And tell us a little bit about the sister company, Renewable.
Absolutely. So Roswall was founded to continue to push the envelope. The people that are involved with Roswall, we've been advocates for renewable energy, as you said, for over 2 decades now. And its importance to Nova Scotia in particular, we have great resources here, and that the benefits from developing those resources should stay in Nova Scotia as much as possible, should benefit Nova Scotia. So that's been something we've been working on for a long time. How that's come about with Roswall is that we're continuing to push with Renewable and bringing renewable energy directly to customers. Renewable has a retail electricity license, and we'll be able to provide Nova Scotians with choice who they purchase their electricity from for the first time.
Interesting. Wow, that's a big deal.
That certainly is. And at the same time, the lessons we've learned here over the last 20 years are in demand everywhere else in the world. Everywhere that is now trying to find out how do they switch to renewable energy and energy efficiency and the things that we're really good at here in Nova Scotia. The skill sets we've built are in high demand and will be as we continue to address climate change and reduce our emissions. So we've been looking at exporting our experience. Primarily, we're focused on the Caribbean. We have projects in Jamaica and Bahamas right now.
Very cool. Very interesting. I know it's renewable energy has been very topical for a long time, but I think especially now, and knowing that Nova Scotians are going to have do they have the choice now, or they're soon going to be able to have the choice?
So our license, we're awarded our license in 2021.
Okay.
But we need to build a generation. It's a license is through the Renewable to Retail program.
Okay.
So that allows for renewable energy to have access to the local market.
Gotcha.
And but we need to build that renewable energy first. So
Right.
our first turbines will be coming online late in 26,
Okay.
so about a year from now. So customers can sign up now, but they won't start taking service until as early as later next year.
Very exciting. Stay tuned, everyone.
That's right.
At the start of 2025, you announced that Renewable would partner with the HRM on the Mersey River Wind Project. This project will provide 45% of HRM's corporate electricity from your wind farms, cutting greenhouse gas emissions by 25%. It is your largest client to date. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's still the case, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how significant is this milestone for you guys, especially given that it's, in your own backyard?
It's really significant. First, let me kind of tell you about the Mersey River Wind Farm.
Sure, yeah.
So as I mentioned, we need to have renewable energy to sell to customers. So the Mersey River Wind Farm, which is outside of Liverpool in Queens County on the south shore of Nova Scotia, will be the first wind farm that's not selling to Nova Scotia Power. Renewable will be buying all the energy from Mersey River Wind and selling it directly to customers. So that in and of itself is really important. The Mersey River Wind Farm, it's on former Bowater land near the hydro dams that are on the Mersey River. Mm-hmm. So there's electrical infrastructure, there's road infrastructure. It's been commercially used for over 100 years for forestry and so forth. So it's a good spot for wind turbines. We have the unanimous support of council. We have all of our permits, and construction's just getting started with turbines arriving next fall.
Very cool.
So that project allows us, in order to be able to start that project, we needed to sign up customers first.
Right.
So we've been working with, companies, or not companies, but institutions like Halifax and other electrical companies to sign up long-term power purchase agreements. So having customers like Halifax is extremely important for us. They are a big customer. They have over 200 electrical meters that they're working with us on. Everything from hockey rinks to smaller facilities and throughout HRM. And we actually have over 30 customers signed up. Halifax is the biggest, but we need to secure those customers before we can actually build the wind farm that will sell to them. So it's kind of chicken and the egg. We need to have enough critical mass, and we need those companies to be creditworthy so that their commitments to buy power from us gives us the security we need to invest in the wind farm.
Right. So is that your typical client is, it's not really B2C, is it larger organizations like HRM or businesses? And
so first and foremost, our license can sell to anyone.
Okay.
So we can sell to anyone that is hooked up to Nova Scotia Power's grid. So there's a few municipal utilities that we can't sell to people that are within those. There's a few big companies like Port Hawkesbury Paper that aren't quite retail companies,
right?
But everyone else, in about 98% of customers in Nova Scotia, we can sell to.
Okay.
So that includes individuals, homes, and even small facilities like apartments and so forth that might not be able to do their own renewable energy. We can sell to them. But in order for us to get started, yes, we need larger companies.
Right. Yeah.
We have over 30 customers signed up. We have, I think, 4 municipalities. We have players from the real estate industry. We have seafood. We have forestry. We have manufacturing. And we have some new cleaner tech companies as well that are a bit more innovative and I guess less traditional than seafood and forestry, if you will.
Yeah. Do you see this project creating some sort of ripple effect, or what do you see as coming from this?
I think there's two main at least two ripple effects. Obviously, having choice for electricity customers is something that there's going to be great interest for.
Yeah.
And competition in the electricity space is important.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can help bring different types of projects faster to the grid than public procurement and the government and Nova Scotia Power can do. I think we can help meet our 2030 targets. Mm-hmm. Having another avenue for projects to go ahead. almost like we're not just another seller, but we're another buyer of electricity is really important, especially for municipally and First Nation led projects, which don't always fit into a larger procurement. At a macroeconomic level, we import billions of dollars of fossil fuels into Nova Scotia. So not just in the electricity side, but diesel, gasoline, heating oil, natural gas. It's all imported to Nova Scotia, and we spend billions of dollars of our economy leaving Nova Scotia to import that fuel.
Right.
So everything we can do to produce more power locally is good for our economy. If that dollar of energy spend is spent in Nova Scotia versus leaving, then there's going to be extra economic benefits.
Absolutely.
And the third spinoff I would look at is if you're a company internationally and you're looking to build a new facility, you're going to want that facility to be what I'll call future compliant. No one knows what the carbon rules will be in 2030 or what the price of pollution might be, but trying to avoid that is smart business. And companies that are investing in new facilities want them to be clean, and if they can, be cost stable from an energy perspective. Data centers are in the news, but it doesn't have to be a big facility like a data center. If you're building new manufacturing, new processing, new agriculture, new forestry, it should be clean. Right. And it should be done without fossil fuels in order to be competitive in the future. Our retail license can help Nova Scotia attract business and attract new investment in Nova Scotia. And if we can do that, we can actually help share the cost of the electricity system amongst more people and lower the cost for not only our own customers, but for everyone.
That's great. And these are things that I feel like working in nonprofit and with government a lot, we talk about a lot. I mean, clean tech is a huge interest of government right now, as is improving our GDP in Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
currently ranked 60 out of 60 in North America. Lots of room for growth. So absolutely in support of local companies.
And let me follow up on that.
Yeah.
When I started in the renewable energy industry, the GDP numbers were probably similar to what they are right now, but we are also the highest emitter per capita in North America.
Interesting. Wow.
And I think there's, as we get cleaner and we use more of our local energy, not only will our emissions come down, and they've come down significantly over the last 20 years already, but the amount of energy of our dollars that's spent locally is also increasing. So we can, we talked about a few $1 billion of fossil fuels. Well, we want to impact our GDP. Let's produce our own power here locally and stop importing so much, and that will help our GDP.
Good for the economy and the environment. Win-win. What a story!
That's the takeaway here.
Yeah.
Renewable energy used to be more expensive. It was the right thing to do, but it was more expensive. But now the costs have come down. The cost of fossil fuels have gone up, and will continue. And those trends seem pretty much unavoidable. No one thinks that the cost of solar energy after decreasing for 40 years straight is going to stop in year 41 or year 42. Same thing with wind turbines and batteries. Fossil fuels, more volatile than, but also upward trend. If you look at inflation and fossil fuel inflation, the cost of diesel, oil, it's going to keep going up over time. It's a scarce resource, and we're growing, and it has to.
Right.
And so having, it's a bigger economic picture than just, how many jobs are going to be at the wind farm, because it's how much of our economy is staying here and being recycled locally versus leaving.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I'm all for it. I'm team renewal as a non-homeowner. But I'm with it. So how much do projects like these rely on technology and data? I mean, these sound very complex, and I can imagine that there's a lot of data analytics and that are critical to optimizing efficiency and performance. Can you share a little bit about what that side of things look like, the tech side of things, and how it's kind of data analytics has been a game changer for you guys?
So I'll highlight that at both on the generation side and at the customer level, because I think they're both important. Obviously, the cost and efficiency improvements of renewable energy technologies like wind, solar, and batteries have excelled because of their high-tech nature, high-tech manufacturing, high-tech materials, and the digital footprint of those, and the amount of the turbines I installed 10 years ago versus the turbines that are installed now. there are probably 30 times more data points on the control system of a wind turbine than there was 10 years ago.
That's interesting.
So our compute ability, our controls ability, a big area that we spend a lot of time is on power quality. And how inverter-based resources and what I'll call more digital generation sources than their analog fossil fuel, big spinning wheel cousins, are traditionally are seen as being challenging for the grid. But we're actually learning that those technologies can actually be better and faster at managing things like voltage and frequency and so forth than the big kind of fossil fuel plants. They're more nimble and more reactive, and all that is their ability to manage these electrical infrastructures and electrical signals at super high frequency. Our turbines manage the voltage multiple times per cycle, and we're at 60 hertz, so there's 60 cycles per second. So they are microseconds of checking voltage and frequency every on that regular basis. So the digitization, if you will, of energy, I think is super important in achieving power quality and those things that the grid needs.
Right.
At the customer level, we're now going to have thousands of data points, and our job is to manage renewable resources like wind and solar with our customers' load. We have to be 100% renewable for our retail license. So now we're in the business of how do we manage these ample resources like wind and sun to match our customers' needs. And every meter can be a data point. And even within a meter, how much, when are they using their hot water? When are they using heat? Do they have an electric vehicle? When are they charging it? And all those have a digital signature.
Right.
And we're going to need to communicate and balance. We talked a little bit about thermal storage earlier. We have 500,000 hot water tanks in this province, and pretty much every single one of them just turns on when you have a shower. When you need hot water, it turns on. That means that our peak energy use is first thing in the morning. 9 a.m., everyone's gone to work, their showers are all done, and now their hot water tanks are on. But that could heat up at 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock once there's a lot of solar, or if it's windy, or at night, and give people the same quality of hot water. But if that can be more flexible, we can use that to smartly balance things like wind and sun, so that we can be more cost effective with our energy and consume it when it's generated, rather than generate it, store it in a battery, and then just use it when we use it, I guess.
Yeah, very interesting. So you mentioned smart grid technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how you see that evolving in Nova Scotia?
So first and foremost, we actually have a good backbone to work upon. All Nova Scotia electricity customers have a smart meter already.
Okay.
So unless you've explicitly opted out, everyone has a smart meter in Nova Scotia. That is helpful for us rolling out our program, because Nova Scotia Power will know every one of our customers is on our system. They have hourly power information from that meter. They can bill us for providing their grid to us to get to our customers. So one thing I should mention, we're not replacing the Nova Scotia Power grid. What we are doing is replacing Nova Scotia Power's generation. So we still pay for their transmission, the distribution, the balancing. They still read the meter and own the meter, but we're putting different energy onto the grid, and our customers will get the both environmental and economic benefit of kind of cost stable, clean, renewable energy. When Renewable buys the power from Mersey River Wind Farm, it's buying it under a fixed price contract. And that allows us to provide price certainty on the energy side, on the fuel side, if you will, to our customers. So our customers who sign up for Renewable will know, here's what my power is today.
Right.
Here's how that compares to Nova Scotia Power. Here's what my power will be 5 or 10 years from now. Obviously, they don't know that with Nova Scotia Power.
Yeah, that's nice.
We can look backwards, but we can't. Cost certainty going forward is actually a big feature of renewable energy, because it doesn't have that kind of volatile nature of fossil fuels.
Yeah, whenever I open my energy bill, I always close my eyes, because I have no idea. it's usually not what I want to see.
Yeah, and frankly, the especially between COVID and the Ukraine war and so forth, we've had some highly volatile
Right.
fossil fuel prices. You just still look at diesel price and so forth. I mean, it is very high because of geopolitical issues. The renewable energy we have is local, and it's not impacted by, I'll call it, geopolitical
Right.
or other impacts like that
Right.
that can affect fossil fuel prices so much.
Yeah, super interesting. So, do you see any other emerging trends that you think will shape kind of the next decade of renewable energy?
Well, one piece that we see happening is that the fossil fuel systems are built up with what I'll call central generation. So you build very large generating plants, billion-dollar plants in a central location, and then you transport that energy to where it's needed. So in our market here, they put coal plants at the end of the coal mines, and they built the energy there, and they transmitted it everywhere.
Right.
That, I think everyone recognizes, that's going to change to a more distributed system.
Okay.
Wind turbines, solar panels, batteries, they won't be clustered as much as a fossil fuel plant where you might have 1,000 megawatts in one location. It's going to be 100 megawatts in 10 locations, or in solars, it could be under thousands of locations rather than just one. What we're also seeing as part of that technology change is that means you have opportunity for different owners. So we're going from a system where one company owns all the generation. You already see that with independent power producers and wind turbines and so forth. We have more generation. Now, as the market matures, we think we will see more customer ownership of renewable energy. As I said, municipal, First Nation-led projects, community-based projects. More distributed ownership, not just distributed technology. So more participants in that
Right.
market, which means the benefits gets more distributed more evenly.
Yeah, very interesting. So from your perspective, what's it been like trying to align, with public policy, with the rapid pace of technology advancements in the renewable energy space? You're always kind of playing the game of you want to move a certain pace, but you have to, there are restrictions and rules you have to follow, kind of on the public policy side. So how has that balance been for you guys?
Well, it's tricky. We spend a lot of time on government policy.
Yeah.
We have good support from the Department of Energy, and they're on the record of encouraging competition and so forth. So there's a lot of reasons to be positive. We're also encouraged of the development of the independent system operator, which puts a different entity in charge of transmission access and so forth, which we think is going to be helpful for the market. In general, I think public policy needs to adjust for this change in renewable energy being now more cost effective and so forth. Renewable energy was promoted by governments in advance of its cost effectiveness to build capacity, to understand it, to help reduce emissions. But now, there's the same way, procuring renewable energy the same way we used to won't necessarily apply. We've known that wind energy is our cheapest source of renewable energy in Nova Scotia for a long time, but we haven't installed any wind turbines in over 8 years in Nova Scotia. So we think that our market will help accelerate those things that are already, market ready and proven technology, and that there's a demand for it. And that will help us achieve our targets and so forth. So we expect moving forward that there would be less involvement with government from procurement and so forth, because the market can now achieve the market's goals and economic goals match and are aligned with our environmental goals, as you mentioned earlier. So we think that the public policy will still have to encourage more use of electric vehicles and electric heating, and that's where I think public policy is most needed. It's on the end of the line rather than the generation source. How do we we have 250,000 heating oil installations here in Nova Scotia. How do we switch those over to clean electricity?
Right.
Now that's where government and research and incentives on accelerating adoption. We're big fans of the kind of financed retrofit. These things will pay for themselves, but you need the backing and the kind of structure to take upfront investments and track them over a period of time.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever been on top of one of the wind turbines?
Yes, I have. Yes, yes, and propelled down as well.
That's
so
amazing.
safety training on wind turbines is that there's a stairwell or lift in the tower, but if that's inaccessible, you have to go down on the outside.
Was it fun?
It was fun. Yes. It was a moment of one terrifying step, and then it was fun the way down.
Do they make all of the staff do that, or is that just you chose?
Well, no. I think in general it's seen as if you do it once, you can do it in an emergency. So
I see.
So most people who work on wind turbines will do that as part of safety training.
Yeah. Very cool. I love it.
For people that work in the office like me, it's not necessary, but it's a nice
a team building activity.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd sign up. That's so funny. So earlier you mentioned that in 2021 there was a renewable to retail initiative that was launched, which is an important step for Nova Scotia. Can you explain this model for our listeners and how it empowers consumers while contributing to a decentralized energy future?
Yeah, so the Renewable to Retail program is the change in the Electricity Act that allows for our license. So we actually were awarded our license in 2021, but the program actually was launched in 2013. So it was Stephen McNeil's government, when he first came in, which is 12 years ago or so, he said, they came in on changing the Electricity Act to allow for renewable to retail. So it was their Bill 1 that changed the Electricity Act that allowed for this. And at the time, I was on the front page of the paper saying, this isn't going to work. Because the way it was structured was that renewable energy would be more cost effective. And it wasn't competitive at that time.
Right.
But as the economics has changed, we went back to this program in 2020 and said, well, now as renewable energy is getting cheaper and fossil fuels is getting more expensive, we think this might actually work. So we started on that in 2020. That's when we started on the Mersey River Wind Farm, and we applied for our license in 2021. And that's the piece that has allowed all this to happen. That change in the Electricity Act, even though it was 12 years ago, was the enabling piece that eventually, once the economics made sense, helped us move this project forward.
Wow,
So,
very interesting.
yeah.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to go look for that photo there. So I know Nova Scotia's home, and you're doing some work in the Caribbean, in Jamaica,
And Bahamas.
Bahamas. Okay. Do you have plans to expand beyond that, or what does that look like for you guys?
So we're certainly interested in the retail space elsewhere in Atlantic Canada, perhaps in New England as well. Electrically, we're very much tied with New England, and there's a lot of demand for renewable energy there. Developing economies like the Caribbean, have a real need. Most small islands in the Caribbean are diesel generators. So the electricity is very expensive. If you ever wonder why it's more expensive to go to a resort on an island than it is in maybe Florida, it's because of the electrical cost. There's some islands, you talk about GDP, there's some islands that are importing, diesel for their hospitality sector alone, and it's 20 to 30% of their GDP.
Wow.
In sunny, windy places. So, their ability to switch to renewable energy will have a magnitude greater impact on their economies than it will, than the positive impacts we're seeing here. So, globally, through, international development organizations, the international finance banks, there's a huge demand. They say there's more investment than there is projects to invest in. So they need people with the kind of boots on the ground experience that can go into a market and say, how do we build our first wind farm?
Right.
How do we incorporate batteries into our system, or how do we, open up the floodgates of behind the meter solar and let everyone put their own solar in and then handle that? These are things that we've learned. The benefits of energy efficiency are another one. So those types of things, in 150 countries over the world are just getting started.
Right.
Where I think this ties together with kind of future development and public policy. Public policy for export is like, if you're selling widgets, they can help support you. If you're selling an app or a technology, they know that business model, but how do you export, utility experience for electricity, where you might be, developing a project over a period of time, and it's a different business model. So I think we need to adjust our kind of export focus to include those utility spaces and energy spaces that are now so important. And we have a good brand. Canada does all over the world in energy and clean energy. Countries are very much looking for someone other than the U.S. or Russia or China to work with on these things. So
Yep.
I think there's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, totally. You can take advantage of that. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
no matter how big the market is here in Nova Scotia, the rest of the world is always going to be way bigger.
Yeah.
So there's a huge amount of opportunity here, but globally it's going to be significantly more.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I feel like, so many things over the course of our conversation about things that are coming up, exciting things that are kind of on the verge as early as 2026. So for those who are listening, where can they find this information? Like when things are available to them, is that on your website, or where would be the best source of information?
Yeah, so for interested electricity customers in Nova Scotia, they can go to renewableenergy.ca.
Okay.
They can sign up on what's now a waiting list to become a customer.
Renewal with two L's.
The renewal, yes. So renewal with two L's. Yes, renewableenergy.ca.
Okay.
So they both home, and we differentiate by rate class. So we have what's called home and small business.
Yep.
So individual single family homes, apartments, cottages, small buildings like the studio we're in right now would all be on one side, and larger customers, apartment buildings, grocery stores, factories, municipal rinks, those types of things. Those are all bigger buildings, and there's a different program for them. But we, so you have two sections of our website. People can follow up, and we'll start bringing on customers in the coming months.
Amazing. Well, I learned a lot. This has been a really great conversation. Is there anything else you want to share before we say our goodbyes? I just feel like you gave me so much information to digest here.
I think one message is that things can seem overwhelming and a bit negative right now when you look outside. And that the momentum behind climate change and energy transition seems, from the outside to have slowed.
Right.
But the economics of that mean that I think I'm more positive and encouraged about the future than I ever have been, because economics are so important in the decisions we make.
Right.
Very few people will do something if it's the right thing to do, if it's more expensive. But almost everyone will do something if it's better and cheaper, then people will transition to that. And whether it's renewable energy on the grid, or it's electric vehicles or electric heat, all those products are superior and cost effective. And that gives me great enthusiasm for our ability to address climate change and to reduce emissions here in Nova Scotia.
I love it. I love ending on that positive note. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to talk to you, and really appreciate your time.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.